I'm Keith from Bjorklund Reedworks, and this is the process of how an oboe reed is made. So this is the reed through the process, really, starting in its most basic form. We take that, splitting it into something that's easier to work with, cutting it down to length, using that gouger to get it to a thickness that is easier to mess with. Then we get it to fold, putting it onto the shaper, getting it in the shape of the oboe reed. Then we have our staple or cork. We attach that using our string. Then we're to this point where we're still a single unit here, clipping it open, but not actually making any sound yet, and then getting more and more into the scraping process to produce sound and then produce beautiful sound that we're all searching for. So the process really begins with tube cane that's similar to bamboo, coming from generally the south of France. We start our process by checking diameter of this. We want symmetry. Let's see, this guy's about here. This is a gauge that helps us test that. We want to look for any inconsistencies. And then we take this and we split it into thirds. And what we have is then a long but now singular piece off of the tube. And what we do with that is we want to find the straightest part of that. So we look down the barrel like this. We look at it from above and from below for no twists. And then this is our gouger. This is a Ross gouger. It has a guillotine on it that will cut it to the proper length. So just back here, have it on here, and then this is just a blade that cuts it off. And now we're at a proper length to then use the actual gouger itself. But before we do that, we have to soak this particular piece of cane for at least an hour. And this one is already wet. The gouger itself has a blade within here that is gouging out the wood to a particular thickness. So as we push, it's taking off little by little, like this. And we do that until it stops, and it eventually gets to this thinness. So far we've gone all the way from tube to split to cut down to this length, and then super thick, and then no longer super thick.
Sort of a shot of it in the oboe too.
Once we are at that point, we have to now make this singular piece into what will become a double reed. So this helps us identify the middle part. When we score across here, we can then score across there and then fold. And we can just take a little bit off of that. The whole while we are keeping this nice and wet so that we have a malleable piece of wood. Next, at Bjorklund Reedworks, I mostly use a Mac Plus shaper, and this is where you can get creative as an oboist. This has been my consistent shape for quite a while, and that's exactly what this is. So we use our shaper on the handle here that's now grasping our gouged piece. And then we just take a razor blade and cut off the excess of that form on both sides. And once we're done with that, we now have our shaped piece of cane. Now it's starting to look more like an oboe reed. At this point, we have our piece of cork that we're going to attach this to, and that's where we use our thread. All right, so we have our tying thread that we want to secure to something. This is just a C-clamp. And then to help this stick to itself, we can use just beeswax, just something that you would get from like a craft store. That just gives it a nice sticky quality to help seal as you're working with it. And then what we'll do is we'll take this now shaped piece of cane and put it on the cork. We have it attached to our mandrel, and that helps us hold it better. And then again, we're looking for straightness. We want both sides here to seal, otherwise air escapes while we're trying to play on it. Let's see. So we do a couple, and then we're tightening it to seal those sides. And then it's all just about threading it down. And I have this super cool machine that allows me to do that quickly when you're making lots of reeds. And then it's already threaded through. So then we just tie that off with a few knots. And there we have what is starting to resemble an oboe reed, but we haven't even started scraping on it. So at this point, it is still in one piece. There's no opening on it. So no sound is possible. So what we'll do is we'll just take, this is a different looking one, but if we just take that razor blade, then we can go to our chopping block and cut off a little bit and open the reed up. Once again, it's still way too thick to make any sound, but we now have it as a double reed. So at this point, we start doing the knife work and just taking off . And really, we're just trying to get to a point at this time where we get the reed to make sound. And from there, we can start using our oboe to test these. We want them to be at a certain pitch, C, and it's a lot of just fine tuning. Even with all that back end work, really the craftsmanship and the technique comes in after this point, where we're just using our knife and really trying to get the best quality out of that particular reed as possible. You can find all things pertaining to Bjorklund Reedworks at our website, www.bjorklundreedworks.com, as well as through social media pages at Bjorklund Reedworks. I am in the Chicago area offering oboe lessons and reed making lessons as well. So you can always reach out to me through those different channels. Thanks so much for watching.